It is the Blue Room. It is your instant match reaction for Manchester City 1, Everton 1 on Boxing Day at the Etihad Stadium. I am Matt Jones. Joining me to go through that game in a bit more detail is Dave Downey. Dave, good point, I think, ultimately, but my word, if Everton had a bit more composure, a bit more pace, a bit more guile on the counter-attack, I think they could have won that game 2-3-1 in the end against a pretty broken Manchester City side. But start with the positives. I think that there were loads of good aspects there from Everton, where they're thinking, playing 3 games in a row against Arsenal, Chelsea, City, to not get beaten in any of them is a great effort.
It is, and say something I've not said. I don't think I've said it since he first came, 2.5 years ago, but massive credit to Sean Dyche for the way he set us up in these 3 games here, particularly because I thought as soon as City went 1-0 up, I thought that was, the closed door after 15 minutes. I thought, might as well get back on the M62 and get home and enjoy the rest of your Boxing Day, whatever you're doing. But to our credit there was a mentality that was very, very strong that I think came to fruition more than I've seen in the others. I know we've got draws against Arsenal and Chelsea, but I still maintain that this is the hardest of the 3 to go to Man City without the context of the way they're going about themselves at the moment, and they've only won 1 in 13 now or something. The way in which how disciplined it was, and there's a few players that we want to single out, and of course, the one that sticks to my mind, obviously, Ndiaye is the one to talk about with that fantastic goal he scored. But I thought Mangala in midfield was absolutely superb. I thought he dominated everything that was in and around him. You think he's grown in his stature in recent weeks, and I felt against top class players in the Premier League, the higher end of the Premier League, I thought he was superb in his positioning and how he used the ball. In us getting out, because obviously City are going to have much more possession than us. It was a typical Everton game in that we only had a third of the ball, but the way we utilised it was much more intelligent than what we normally do.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the only thing that disappoints me really about that today was how we started, because I think we were a bit too negative. And I know we went to Arsenal and basically sat on our 18-yard box and kept them at bay for too long, but City, I think, as we saw as the game went on, there are, as I said a bit earlier, a broken outfit. They are so devoid of confidence. They are so out of rhythm. And I think just to go there and just do the same, we could have been a little bit more, not like going gung-ho and trying to press them all over the pitch, man to man, but certainly be a bit bolder in our choices on the ball, maybe press higher when we had the chance. And we just kind of sat back and let them grow into it. And when they got their goal, which, I had a bit of fortune about it as well, and it felt like we had to come out and be a bit more expansive, offer a bit more of a threat. It felt like from that point on, really, we realised, we can actually get at these if we take our time, if we show composure, if we try and play through the lines a little bit more and counter-attack against them, because there are so many pockets of space against this City team at the moment. It's harder without Rodri, without the confidence they've been playing with recently. And I think from that point on, when they scored, it felt like we were really in the game and probably had the better attacking moments, really, apart from the penalty that the City got in the second half.
No, I think that's right. I think you're spot on the way you've said there. It takes a few minutes before everyone realises, oh, hang on, this isn't a City side that is like going in for turning the season around and going in for Everton, and they're going to try and score 4, 5, 6 goals past us, because they're just not that side right now. And there's obviously serious issues going on there, as Dave Mooney was talking about with you in the preview. And then, when we finally started realising that, it was interesting. I think that you've got Dyche going there with a game plan, as we have done in the last 2 against the big sides, and there's no idea beforehand the sides are going to be difficult to break down here. Maybe Chelsea at home, but that's the sort of minor things that you go into talking about in the last couple of weeks. But going to City, there's surely no assumption, not least for a side that's us that are still struggling, let's face it, to go there and think, oh, do you know what? City are on their arse here. We can go there and we can open up and we can go and win it. And it was interesting what you say there. I thought it was the mentality that our team started to have when they thought, hang on, they really are on their asses here. We can approach this in a slightly different way. And that sort of links to what I was saying there about Mangala, and when we won the ball without just hooving it upfield, there seemed to be a pass out. There seemed to be an outlet for everybody who picked the ball up. You think when Tarkowski got the ball, when Brantwaite got the ball, Seamus as well. It was great to see him back in. When they got the ball, it wasn't just automatically route one. It was somebody in front of them, and I thought Ndiaye epitomised that in the first half. And then I thought that was probably the best game we've seen for a long time from Calvert-Lewin as well, in what he did. There was a point where he goes through, just off on a tangent with him there, there's a point where he goes like 50-50 with Ake sprinting. I didn't actually realise how quick the lad actually is. And I think that's sort of an example of why he's never utilising him in that way, where you can realise that he's actually that quick, because he doesn't normally play in a role where he has to sprint for too long. It's normally just flicking it on and winning headers. But what you say there, I think it's perfectly well the way you've put that, in realising who the opponents are. And credit to Sean Dyche for, again, and repeated what he did in the setup. And, you know, I think you're right. The more I'm talking about this, and the more we're talking about this, we probably should have won that game. And who'd have thought we'd come away from Manchester City saying that?
Yeah, certainly as Haaland stood over that penalty at 1-1, you know, to fast forward half an hour and think you gutted not to have won that match is mad. But let's talk about the Ndiaye goal a bit, Dave, because it's, you know, you can set up as well as you want and defend as well as you want and do that side of the game all day. But as we've seen in the games we've drawn recently, you need to have that moment, don't you, in the final third, to be able to, you know, to stay in games, because you are sometimes going to get a goal deflects off Brantwaite's leg and past Pickford and goes in. But I mean, it's just a moment of magic, isn't it? In the sense that the touch is so good, and then the touch is so good, followed by a finish which is so sharp and past the goalkeeper before he can get near it. And you know, I think after the first few weeks in Ndiaye, I think he's probably had a little bit of a lull. But I thought against Chelsea he was fantastic. He looked back to his you know, early season self, and obviously today he scores that goal. He got man of the match on Amazon Prime as well, and he did all the usual things that he does in getting back and trying to help Mykolenko out, you know, carrying the ball, winning free kicks, and he's one of those players I think we've seen good things from him and a lot of positive things from him, but it still feels like there's loads more to come. And when you see moments like that touch and that finish, it makes you think that, you know, it's still early days in his Everton career, and we could have a hell of a player on our hands here.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready to burst, doesn't he? He's just ready to explode onto the scene, even more so than what we've seen. And, you know, the way in which we play, the way in which we set up, and the systems we have doesn't particularly suit a, 5'5" or something like that, when he's getting the ball to his feet and able to draw defenders out and attack towards the byline. And we saw that today. He's playing against a side that probably suits his game a little bit more, because he is allowed to attack them when he has the ball. He's allowed to run at defenders. It's not playing more sort of, I don't know, the role which we play, which is very compact. I think today he had chances to move around and do a lot more than what he'll have wanted to do, I'm sure. And then that goal, Matt, top of our goal of the season by far, I think. So just off the top of my head there, and any other player that breaks that there, I think you know, they'll do well to do so. But it's the instinct of when that ball comes across to him, and if you've seen it from the angle from behind the goal, which I'm sure most Blues have been watching, if they didn't make the trip over to Manchester, was when he gets it, the first touch, it's just the instinct straight away. Because I'm thinking anyone else probably takes another touch. It's an awkward take that he brings the ball down so quickly, and Lewis isn't even in the shot by the time he's hit the ball. And he gets Ortega's just, he just must be looking at it thinking, he's just not expecting anybody to him to hit it as quickly as he does, and it just sails into that top corner, and it's a blink of an eye sort of thing, Matt, isn't it? It's the type of thing that you watch and you think, did that really happen? You know, quite in that split second after it does, and then it's just a phenomenal way that he's taken the ball and got it away so quickly, and Matt, like, really quick feet, and the ball in's fine. It's something that we deserved as well, to be honest. The way in which we grew into that game, we absolutely deserved that. And him, yeah, I think you're right. What we can expect from him, or say expect, to probably you're putting a lot of burden onto his shoulders there. But given what we've seen him do so far, that could only be the beginning of what we can see from him and how good he can be for us. And the way he's utilised as well by Sean Dyche, and, you know, further down the line, whoever's in charge, he's got a bit of magic about him, and he's one of the few players you can say haven't made a fantastic job in going to sign a player like that.
Definitely. I don't know if you heard Rachel Brown finish talking about it at half time on Amazon, because I think Stuart Pearce was sort of looking at it saying along the lines of it's quite close to the goalkeeper, but obviously she sort of said that when you're a keeper in that position and someone takes the touch and then takes the shot so early, you kind of see the touch, you set yourself, and then you move to react to the next touch, and but because he takes it so quickly, like the keeper, you're dead in that sense, because you can't take two steps that quickly and react to it so fast. So yeah, it is a bit of genius. And then obviously we go into the second half, David. I think barring that one moment from Mikalenko where he makes a ridiculous challenge, and I don't want to dwell on it loads because I think it's should be a positive show this today, because we did a lot of good things well, but defensively from that point on, City didn't really create anything from open play, did they? Those maybe one save from Pickford he had to make with his feet before the penalty, and from that point on, as the game got stressed and they got more desperate, Man City, and I think bringing Breuer on as well in particular, it felt like there was going to be chances for us. And Decore has that one which flicks off Lewis and goes wide. We obviously have the 4-on-2 at the end, and I know skip past Pickford's penalty save there, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it felt like as City got more desperate and their crowd got more anxious, and they sort of started to unravel and come away from their game plan, like we really had a threat on the counter attack. And I don't know if that's just because Breuer's a bit speedier and can carry the ball a bit better than Dom, or if City just dreadful at defending those sorts of situations. But it really felt like we were going to get that moment in the second half.
Yeah, it really did. It looked like everything was going to align for us when he came on, because we've all been pretty desperate to see him, haven't we? Given the issues we've had with Calvert-Lewin, which we seem to speak about on a weekly basis on most of our shows. When he's come on the pitch there, he's built like a brick shit house, isn't he? But also he's quick. And when we obviously defending deep as well, which is what 99.9% of sides have got to do against Manchester City, to have that outlet straight away, you can play it into his feet, and you just have somebody running up beside him. Decore started to get into the sort of way in which we see him play, or we want him to play a lot, rather than be a defensive midfield player or join whoever's in the midfield duo there, which is obviously Gay and Mangala today. Having to stay where you are defensively, where you do keep that shape, and you make it so difficult where they're playing on the outside of you, you're sending them out wide. Yeah, you're right. There's that one mistake from Mikalenko, which is brain dead, I thought at the time, but obviously more positive when you see the goalkeeper save, and then we could have well nicked it. Being able to do that, I think it shows what is possible if we have these games against sides. And I refer back to when, I think I've said that a couple of times in previous shows we've done, where when we've been at our best under Sean Dyche, it's when been at having to break out. And I think back to the now infamous, now historical 4-game winning run that we went on, which was it 2022? That was 2023, wasn't it? But when we did that and we had much fewer possession than the sides we played, we were able to break forwards. We were able to do something with the ball when we won it back. And by and large, that was today. And I think I just keep referring back to what you said at the start there. There was a sort of realisation that Everton can go and get something here. And it seemed to go through the players' minds as this started to open up a lot more. He came on, much different to Calvert-Lewin, but it looks like he's got plenty of other facets to his game as well. He's somebody who can drop a little bit deeper. He can take it into his chest. I mean, you've seen him a couple of times where it seemed like really intelligent play. When he's running it towards the corner flag or when he's on the flank, he's not looking to put his head down and dart past a couple of world-class defenders. He's keeping hold of the ball. He's keeping possession. He's bringing somebody else into play. Exactly what you need when you're breaking out from a break of, having your opponents all over you for 10-minute spells and you've barely touched the ball. Just takes away this pressure that's been towards your defensive prowess that you've shown. So when he's doing that, there's so many things I saw today, Matt, that I think there's a lot of potential here in what this Everton side can do. Look, it's going to be different when you play in sides that aren't Manchester City-esque, even though they're going through a load of shit at the moment. Everton away from home, and I've said something quite often, Everton away from home makes me feel a lot more comfortable than when we're playing at Goodison. And I think today is one of those that epitomise that. I'd have thought that it'd be more difficult for us to beat Man City or get a result against Man City at Goodison today, I thought, and I'll still maintain that. And that's not only because we went there and got a decent point.
It's just like the last 3 games, it's just completely different, isn't it, to what you come up against in the Premier League? Because, like, it's so almost acceptable for us to have a third of the ball against Arsenal, Chelsea, and City, and that obviously plays into our hands and the way we want to play and defensive style that we've got. But it's when you play against, not necessarily Forest, maybe next week, because they're flying, but when you've got teams coming to Goodison who are around about us in the league and you don't get that space. But I just wanted to, before we talk about Pickford, just wanted to get your thoughts on talking about Brugge there and Calvert-Lewin. I think I'm at the point with Dom now where I wouldn't mind a change. I appreciate he's got a bit of a hard job, and I think there's been some questions about his attitude, and maybe in the first half they didn't look quite as interested. And I think after they scored, City, didn't they? Dyche had quite a long word with him. And I don't know if it was, I don't know what the tone of that was or anything, but I thought it was quite interesting. And after that time, he came out and he was a little bit better, more improved, but ultimately got dragged off. But I think Brugge just offers that something different in terms of, I think it's that initial bit with Brugge. Maybe I don't think he's necessarily quicker than Dom or makes better decisions on the ball necessarily, but when he gets into feet, he's stronger. I think he moves it quicker. He's more decisive, and he can turn and go. And I think for a team that does get pinned back quite a lot, I think that suits us a little bit more at the moment. And it might be a case where Dom's had to do the hard yards for an hour, and Brugge comes on, he's playing against more tired defenders. But I think after, where's the last time he scored in the game against Villa, 3-2, which we lost? It's a long time now, and I appreciate he does the team, but Brugge looks like a lad who's obviously been eased back in after his injuries. But maybe Forest at home, got a packed schedule coming up. That just feels like the right game for a change for me to up front and to give him a go from the off.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think when you look, we've talked about the limitations, the Calvert, or the limitations that he's appeared to show us, because we've seen him do it in the past. That's why he's a bit of an enigma, really, when we talk about him. You're right what you said there as well. When they went 1-0 up, at the camera immediately panned to Dyche, sort of made a beeline for him and got right basically in his face there, clearly saying stuff with raising his hand and all that, with different positions, obviously. And I do have sympathy. I've started having a lot of sympathy with Calvert-Lewin there, because against sides like this, when you've got minimal amounts of possession, he didn't have a chance, did he? I thought he was good today. I thought that was much more what you needed from a player that's not going to get near goal for most of the game, let's face it. But then when you put Brugge on as well, I think something different's what we've needed so many times under Sean Dyche. So many changes we need to make, and he's had a distinct lack of trust in who he can put on in matches. The fact he throws Brugge on there for Calvert-Lewin does indicate that there's room for change now with what's going on up front. I'd like to see that, what you said there against Forest, just swap them round, basically. They can. I'd never go as far in a Sean Dyche side of saying you play a 4-4-2, because we're not that good enough to do that these days. But if you want to just change things up, you put him on in centre forward at the start, and then you're looking at doing exactly what we did today, but the opposite way around, really. Because look, he's only just coming back from fitness, isn't he, Brugge? You've got Calvert-Lewin, you just want to mix around something different. I'd like to see how Brugge can get involved, get everybody in and involved around him with Ndiaye, and we've got McNeil to come back as well. Harrison today too, thought played well until the obvious. I agree with you. I'd like to see that a bit more often. It's against what Sean Dyche normally does, and he reverts the type often. When he's seen this today, he'll stick with what he trusts. Again, which we've been into depth about that quite a lot. But like today, I think the way he did everything, the way he did play the substitutions well, and it can't be underrated how good that point is, Matt. Despite that silly run City are on, despite they're still in danger of even staying in the Champions League, aren't they? And Pep Guardiola and the issues he's got going on, Everton have gone to at least the second best side in the Premier League 4 times. I don't have to list their credentials, do I? But you've gone to somewhere there where you've been able to move things around a little bit, and dare to say it, it showed that he's putting in a little bit more of a pragmatic approach to this Everton side when he's doing that sort of thing. And I'm all for it. I know we've spoken a lot about his job, new owners and whatnot. He does this sort of thing, then it's absolutely fine for me.
Yeah. Just he's on the telly now, Dice, but just wanted to finish off, Dave, by talking about a couple of players who were involved in the big moments in the second half. Obviously, Jordan Pickford, who made the save, and first and foremost, talking about the goalkeeper, he's just he's had an amazing few weeks, hasn't he? I think at the start of the season he was a bit below par. He was nowhere near the usual standards. He had a rough start at Tottenham, didn't he, where he gave the ball away. And he did a goal, I think, there were a few times in that Bournemouth game, which we lost as well, where he was a little bit indecisive. But probably since the Anthony Gordon penalty save earlier in the season, he's been back to his level, arguably playing as well as he ever has for Everton. And, it wasn't like the Arsenal game the other week today where he had to make save after save after save. But I don't know, in that big moment with Haaland, you just sort of fancied him, didn't you? Like, you see the clip of him making the daft faces. I don't know, just having gone for quite a while without making a penalty save, he seems to have got his swagger back in those moments again now. And I did, as Haaland was stood up there, and obviously Seamus Coleman was getting in his ear, I did sort of think that Jordan's going to pull this off again. But he's such a different goalkeeper, isn't he, at the moment compared to what he was earlier in the season? And he's once again, me and Paddy were talking about this either this week or a couple of weeks ago, talking about how he could be the most important player we've had in the Premier League era, and showing it again today. There, his City go 2-1 up there. It's very hard for Everton to get back into that game, and he's come up big for us again.
He relishes these moments, Matt, and I think Clive Tilsley said it perfectly in the commentary that he's up for this. He wants
to enjoy it. He said, didn't he? Yeah.
You can tell he enjoys it. Yeah, and I don't know. Someone made some sort of stupid comment, and he's seen it in on social media about he just bounces up and down on his toes, doesn't he? Until
it was very weird. Like just on that, it was very strange. I think they said they made reference to that jumpy Pickford.
That was it, yeah.
And then I think they said something about wouldn't swap him for Alisson or Courtois. They're both amazing goalkeepers. That's fine if you think that, but why bring it up in that moment after we just made a save against the best striker in the Premier League? It's just very weird the way in which he's still spoken about outside of Everton circles, I think.
It is, yeah. Matthew Upson, wasn't it? He was saying stuff like that, and I do think it's sort of it's very strange. I think it's a rarity, and I can't think of anybody else really what clubs maintain to have a world-class player, which is what he is. And I know we have different fans of different clubs listening to us, but I think we're beyond doubt now, us as Blues, saying that he's a world-class goalkeeper that Everton have. Begs the question every time that we're talking about why he's still at Everton and how he's still at Everton and who hasn't come in for him, or they might weigh out. We don't know that, do we, behind closed doors? But when you see him doing that, it's I don't think it gets around people's minds. They're like Matthew Upson there talking about it, that Everton have got a goalkeeper like that. They find it difficult to praise him to the extent they would with an Alisson or an Ederson, because it's an Everton goalkeeper and Everton are still crap in comparison by where they are in the Premier League. I think that's why Pickford's very unique at what he does as a goalkeeper and his performance levels and his mannerisms too. I think that's something that he's easily criticised by others. The England side of things as well. I can't stand it. I've said before that I hope he retires from international football, Matt, because any time that they just can't wait to criticise that lad and everything he's shown for us. And look, we've criticised him in the past, the way in which he's been. You mentioned earlier this season as well, where it's not quite the Pickford we've had. There's not quite that. There's something that niggles in your mind that you can't quite trust him to the level that we know he can be. But he's kept us in the Premier League several seasons now, and today shows you exactly why he's able to do that. He's able to come out, catch the ball. I think his game's actually developing, Matt. I don't think many people would touch upon that, given everything else that's pretty obvious from what you actually see in the game. I think he's developing as he's getting older. He's in his 30s now. there are various things that you'll see from a goalkeeper that go by the wayside because all you're watching them do is do the literal thing that he's in goal for, and that's save. But if you look at his communication with people in front of him as well, very demanding in terms of what he does. I'd love to hear it. I'd love him to put a microphone on them during the game just to hear what he's saying to Tarkovsky and what he's saying to Bradwaite and everyone around him, because it looks like a bit of a comedy sketch at times, doesn't it? But yeah. He's fantastic, and he's down in Everton's legendary status now, I think. Many conversations that have happened, I think, I certainly was having one on Radio Merseyside about this the other day, that he's definitely Everton's second best goalkeeper. No one's ever going to get anywhere near Big Nev, but he's comfortably better now, I think, and he's crucial to our football club. You can't say it about the goalkeeper, the first name on the team sheet, but he's certainly the most important name on the team sheet, and I think that'll be what we're saying about Jordan Pickford, perhaps unfortunately, until he finishes his days at Everton, to be honest, because we'd like to not say that, because somebody in front of him's done really well, and it means that we're doing much better as a side. But yeah, Jordan Pickford's probably the best signing we've made as well in years gone by too.
Oh, 100%. And you're right about Nev being on a different plane. And I used to sort of think that Nigel Martin, we'd have to sign an amazing goalkeeper. I used to always think for someone to get close to what Nigel Martin was between 2004 and whenever because he was so good in that team, which finished fourth and had so much relative success under Moyes. But I think Jordan's probably surpassed them now,
definitely,
just in terms of importance and how crucial he's been to us. And very, very fortunate to have a goalkeeper like him. And I just wanted to finish off, Dave, as well. It warmed my heart today seeing Seamus Coleman out there and getting in the midst of the battle. And, listen, I think it's one of those where he's not played he's just started the game for months now. Being thrown in at Manchester City against someone like Doku, it's one of them. You look at the team sheet, and I imagine Guardiola will have looked at our team sheet and thought that's where you go at Everton potentially. But he was fine. I mean, he made one big mistake at the end of the first half, giving the ball away. But other than that, I thought he was flawless. Like I said, obviously getting in Haaland's face and getting a yellow card, and who knows if that had an impact on him missing the penalty or not. But I think it was interesting that the Jagielka's on Amazon Prime here, because I think late in his career, Jags as well actually was a bit like this, where wasn't starting many games, but you knew if you dropped him into a match, you could parachute him in and he'd be absolutely fine, and he'd do a job for you for a game or two here or there. And Seamus is not the player he once was. I don't think he's maybe capable of stringing together 5-10 games like Ashley Young does so well, or has done so well for us over the last few weeks. But here and there, I think you can drop him into a team and he's never going to let you down. And it just, watching him on Amazon Prime there, speaking to the pundits and talking about the game, he just looks so thrilled to be involved. And as much as people talk about him being around the club and the influence he has in the dressing room and with new signings and stuff like that, he is a competitor, isn't he? He is a fiercely competitive fellow, and I think he'll want to be contributing on the pitch, and that'll do him the world of good today, I think, to get on there, play near enough 90 minutes and shut down a winger like Doku.
Yeah, I mean, he looked fresh as a daisy as well, to be honest. I mean, I think he's somebody who prides himself in his professionalism when it comes to that. It was like when I just saw him on his own, when they sort of the camera looked straight at him, I was thinking like Everton of old, and Clive Tilsley started reeling off all of his time. But 16 years is just remarkable, really. It makes us all feel a little bit older, doesn't it, realising it? He's been there that long, but he still looks about 14. And I think you're right. He's got that little edge to him there, when he loses it a little bit himself, but he knows exactly why to just not to quite tip the edge in where he's going to get booked or he's going to get sent off. Like you say there, he's in Haaland's face when that happened as well. I think the example he gave there with what Jags was like, albeit you could see that a little bit more obvious that he was coming towards the end of his career, because I think he's more exposed as a centre back, obviously. But against Doku, who's one of my favourite players to watch in recent months for City, I thought he was a couple of times, and the lad's light and quick, and he causes all many fullbacks just loads of different problems when he plays against them. But I think he kept them quiet, efficient enough. I think he was coming up with different ideas, Doku, to try and stay away from him as well, if you watch that. So I think it's really interesting that he was trying to cut away from him as opposed to taking him to the byline.
Well, I think it's sorry to interrupt you, Dave, but I think it was noticeable how City were going so much down their right or left in the second half. Like it felt like everything was coming down that side, didn't it?
That's right. That's spot on. I think the change there is when they're looking at Mykolenko a lot more than Coleman, and that would have been what Guardiola's looked at when he's seen, like you said, when he's seen the team sheet there and he's seen the 36-year-old fella there at right back. They're thinking there's no way he should be able to go one-on-one with Doku there. And when it was discovered, they just thought, well, no, we're just going to have to leave going in that direction and come down the right and see what we can do up against Mykolenko, who was obviously not as equally as good, given the ridiculous tackle that he made. But he was still efficient enough, wasn't he, in what they were putting down there. And Everton come into their own in terms of what Sean Dyche wants to see from us. At the end of that game, it's just being as compact as you can. You're making them go right across the park all the time. You look at Kevin De Bruyne, his head must be all over the place over the past few weeks, the way City have had to play against sides like us, where he's just constantly looking for a pass through, but there's nothing there, so he's got to go left or right again. Making him do that shouldn't be something that's not spoken of, because it's a positive way of taking on a side like that with a player like that who's one simple pass can just rip you apart and then they'll go and score and win the game. Everton dealt with him. Everton dealt with everything Manchester City threw at them. And just to finish, I think that if you were to say to us, and we spoke about this, I think, on what you think we get over these fixtures in December, these three big ones here, I would have been, if anybody said to me we wouldn't lose one of those three games, you should have been carted off in a straitjacket. And the way that Everton have gone about it, Everton have gone and got those draws. Everton have scored away at Manchester City as well. Given what we're looked at, given what we consider is an Everton side that needs a hell of a lot of change, given we've got new owners. Massive credit to Sean Dyche and everybody else there. There's a real positive Everton side that can dig themselves into getting the result all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but against sides like that, Everton make it really, really hard to be beaten. So you can't come away from a decent festive period. I know we've got into New Year and we've got Forest at home, who are probably in that category at the moment. Like you said, they're a really good side right now. I mean, it's a positive 3 results from Everton, and it hasn't destroyed Christmas or anything for us as well. So it's probably the most we can hope for there, Matt.
Yeah, I think when you think that this month started with that 4-0 at United, and you figure the last 4 games, listen, it's not been perfect. There's still loads of work to do from an attacking point of view. We need to get miles better with that. But to win 1, draw 3, I think everyone would have taken that, wouldn't they, after that debacle at United. So I think credit to the players and the manager. And listen, beat Forest on Sunday, then I think it's been a month that's sort of beyond what any of us would have expected. I think going into these fixtures this afternoon, I think we're 5 points clear of the bottom 3. So we'll see what happens this afternoon.
We'll have the game in hand as well, won't we, with the derby?
Of course, but it's positive. I think a lot of good things from Everton today, and I'm feeling relatively good about things on our way into that match against Forest on Sunday. Dave, what have you got planned for the rest of your Boxing Day?
More football, to be honest with you. I love the Boxing Day games. It's nice the way they're staggered. It's nice that they're all on the same channel as well.
I think Liverpool-Leicester's a pretty terrible 8 o'clock game.
Oh, yeah,
I think Wolves United could be a good 5:30.
Well, you say that. I mean, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but we do Liverpool win that game against Leicester nearly, couldn't we? So I'm glad that that's the last one there. When it's that time normally when I have my Boxing Day, I'm normally falling asleep around then.
Asleep on the couch.
Exactly. Yeah, you got 1-0 up. I'm happy to go to bed after that, mate, because they're probably not going to concede against Leicester. But I mean, you need to wish everyone as well that have had a good Christmas over the recent few days, New Year to come and all that. And I think the other thing we should mention is we've got Les's mailbag Royal Rumble coming up at some point as well, where
that's nice, isn't it?
Every man, woman and child are going to be trying to get involved in that, and some of the questions are going to be thrown at it. So Les has got is going to be busy over the coming days. We've got a bag full of content, haven't we, as always?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should be in good spirits after. Well, thanks to Ndiaye and John Pickford today. We'll wrap it up there. That's been the reaction to City 1, Everton 1. Good stuff from the Blues at the Etihad today. Could have won it, but a point, I think, is very decent as we build towards that Forest game. Cheers to Dave. Hope everybody has had a great Christmas. Just to echo what Dave said there. We'll be back over the next couple of days with other shows, with Mailbag, and with your instant reaction to that Forest game on Sundays. The matches come thick and fast. So cheers for tuning in. Up the toffees. Catch you again soon.